Hello everybody. Got about £1.5 of clay, wooden bat, with old sponge, usually the best sponges are the older ones. Just going to throw a small pot today and let you just see how I do it. Now I throw with water. Some people prefer throwing with slip. I suppose it's a personal choice, but let's go through the motions. Just wet my hands, bit of water on the wheel. Make sure that you're pressing down, trying to get this centred. Not always easy as some people seem to think, but once you've got it near there, try to lift it a little bit. This just mixes the clay. Now, previous to you throwing on the wheel, you should have wedged your clay. All sorts of different ways to wedge it. Cutting and throwing one block onto another usually works. Or you can spiral wedge it in the hands. And really what you're trying to do is get rid of all air bubbles so that we don't come across them when we actually throw it. Speed's fairly quick. Just while I get it centred, then I'll be slowing it down. You can see that I've lifted up into a cone shape just to mix the clay a little bit. Clay's fairly soft. I'm trying to get it centred so that I get the best possible chance to throw in the smallest amount of poles. Feels okay. Next process, the inkwelling. What I'm going to do is put my thumb inside and go to the base of the actual bat. You want to be around about 1/4 of an inch clearance, so try not to go right through. If you go right through, you hit the board, obviously your pot's gone. So just steadying it down a little bit. You can see that I've opened the clay and you can see that it's running reasonably correctly. Now I'm going to push the thumb down so that I've got about this 1/4 of an inch clearance. Just keep checking. With practice, you'll soon get there with it. You'll have 1 or 2 failures, but that's the nature of throwing on the wheel. Now when I put my thumb down there, I'm trying to avoid doing that. That's lifting that way. I'm trying to go across so that I'm creating the base with a little bit of a corner and not with a rounded corner. So got my base ready. I'm pushing my thumb, supporting the right hand with the left hand so that I've got the base more or less level and ready for throwing. So let's just have a look. Right, keep it fairly moist, don't let your clay dry out. This is a crank clay which is fairly thirsty, and with supporting the right hand with the left hand, just pull it gently up. So we're in about that position. You can see that the wheel isn't turning really fast, otherwise if it was, it'd be trying to throw it off the wheel. You'd have very little control. So with that medium speed, if I put my finger into that corner and use that knuckle, I can then start to lift the clay. Pressing from the outside, try not to let your fingers inside do the work in this particular instance, because you'll end up with centrifugal force, it will throw it out. And you'll end up with a ball rather than a cylinder, and that's what I'm trying to create today. Fingers back in, going back up again, knuckling up, keeping it nice and steady, checking all the time that we don't start to drift out, a little bit of colouring. see just by some steady hand movements on that colouring, you're more or less creating a cylinder. For the last pull, a little bit of water inside again, and I slow it, the wheel down just a little bit. With that colouring again. And by putting my hands again with that finger on that corner and knuckle, you can just do one final pull. This thins the clay so that it's not really heavy in the hand and it feels right. So we'll get to that sort of stage. Final bit of colouring, and you can see that you've got your cylinder more or less finished. Now with this is a throw-in rib. I'm just going to apply this to the clay, supporting it by the left hand inside, just to take some of the slurry and slip off the pot, and just again bring the colouring in. Always check that your rims are reasonably good, don't have to be absolute, make sure that they're tidy and good looking. And you can often use the rib just to steady that down. Last but not least, on the corner, just put a little bit of a chamfer, it finishes the pot off quite nicely. And you can hear that on the wheel, that noise, it's just on the wooden bat. I've got a little bit of watery slip inside, so if I remove that, I can check exactly what that corner looks like. And check on the size of the chamfer that I want to put in it. Just going to do it a little bit more, and then we should call it a finish. There we go, I think we're just about there with that. Now when you push your wire underneath it to separate it from the bat, you should just be able to see it should sort of ruckle up as you come through with it. There we go, pot finished.